YouTube viewers. Today we're going to continue on the audio cards. And today's audio card is the Record Amplifier HX-PRO. There's actually a few things involved in this one. There's a small board that plugs into the main board called the adaptation board. This adaptation board is different for the different head stacks. In other words, in a 24 track, it uses a particular resistors for the adaptation board, which is compensating for the air gap between the tracks, okay? And on a 16 track, that air gap is a little bit different. On a 2 track, it's a little different too. So what they've done is they allowed a different adaptation board to plug into the Record Amplifier. So we'll get more into that as we look at the actual unit. So without further ado, let's take a look at the Record Amplifier HX-PRO. Well, this is the record card. As you can see that the input and output is on the left-hand side. That's where it plugs in. That's the edge connector. And on the right-hand side, there's actually a little board called the adaptation board, which I spoke briefly about, and we'll get into a little more depth on it as we go on. The audio signal from the line amplifier card passes through a low-pass filter, IC9, into the record card. This filter maximizes the attenuation of the 153.6 kHz erase signal. After the low-pass filter, the signal path becomes more complex. Due to the inherent treble loss caused by the air gap in the record head, Studer implemented a linear phase correction circuit. Using these ICs, they created an inverting two-fold differential circuit, followed by a digitally controlled treble adjustment known as the record treble frequency response. A portion of the audio signal is reintroduced as inverse feedback via the adaptation board to the next amplifier stage, improving the steepness of the treble correction. This signal is then fed into the next amplifier stage. Next, the equalization time constant circuit comes into play, also digitally controlled by an 8-bit DAC, digital to analog converter, IC, providing 256 steps of adjustment. These adjustments are stored in RAM on the audio MPU card. Simultaneously, the record level is controlled in the same manner by this DAC IC. Similar to the Repro card, IC1, a decode demultiplex IC, manages the 3 DAC ICs, which control record level, equalization level, and treble frequency response level. Additionally, there's a 3180 microsecond time constant circuit that is activated via FET2. I'll cover the bias in the next video, focusing on the high frequency driver, but it's worth mentioning that inductors L1 and L4 are used to prevent the bias frequency from interfering with the recording circuitry. Finally, the audio signal combines with the bias signal at the transformer at T1 before being fed to the record head via the record relay. In record mode, the relay directs the signal from the transformer to the record head for recording onto tape. Alternately, it can take the signal already recorded on the tape and send it to the sync playback amplifier on the Repro card. However, on this particular card, there's one more circuit, HX-PRO. This circuit will make more sense once we understand bias, which will be covered in the next video. But briefly, the circuit simply lowers bias level in real time and dynamically in case more high-frequency signal is present in a recorded program. Thus, bias level will vary depending upon how much high frequency is present. The reason for it is this. High frequency signal in the recorded program acts as added bias, and the resulting bias is becoming higher than is intended and the machine is calibrated for. Higher resulting bias would suppress high frequency signals, and that's what HX-PRO is fighting. HX-PRO works in the recording mode only. It does improve high-end and dynamic range of the recorded program. There's no compression and decompression of the recorded signal. Technically, the recorded signal is not manipulated in any way, just the biases. And finally, the HX-PRO circuit can be actually switched in or out. Thank you for watching that. I realize it is pretty technical, but if you're really concerned or really want to know about these machines and how a magnetic tape works, it's important to understand all the little aspects of the record process. And as you can see, a lot of it is done on this Record Amplifier card. So next week we'll be able to look at the bias card, which is actually called a high frequency driver. But we'll be able to look at bias, we'll learn about bias, and we'll learn about magnetic tape recording more in depth. So as always, please subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, click the bell and I'll notify you when the next one's out. And thank you very much for watching.